Ben Funky Askren and the man, Kyle Snyder, joining us. So excited for this. I always love catching up with you, Kyle. Kyle's got a big match coming up March 16th against Jaden Cox. Kyle, good morning, and how excited are you for this matchup?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the, in my mind, one of the biggest matchups for me personally that I could wrestle in, you know. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think for wrestling fans, it's definitely one of the, if you say, hey, wrestling fan, make a match that you want to see really bad that you haven't seen in a really long time or whatever. This is up there, not just for American fans. I think for international wrestling fans, it's huge. You versus Jaden. And I think one of the things that make it so interesting is everyone thought we were going to see this in April, right? Last April, we thought, hey, that's going to be the match. It's going to happen. And then, of course, with Jaden's situation, it wound up not happening. And then there was sort of a little debate afterwards, like, what did Kyle actually feel about Jaden not wrestling? Because on the one hand, let's be honest, your path to make the Olympic team gets a lot easier if you don't have to wrestle a multiple world champion. But on the other, you were probably looking forward to that opportunity. So give us the kind of your emotional perspective on the match not happening in April.
Yeah, I mean, we were really preparing for Jaden all year because, I mean, obviously the most important thing is wrestling in the world or Olympic championships. So to do that, you got to win the trials. And so we're preparing to wrestle him and Colin. You know, those are the two guys I would say were our main focus throughout the year. So, and I mean, Jaden not even being in the bracket, I mean, was just such a surprise. Like, and you know, there's part of you that's like, wow, this just got a lot easier, you know, without him in there. And then there's also, like you said, there's also the part that's like, well, this is the guy that I want to wrestle, and I like that challenge, and I'm prepared to wrestle him. So, you know, kind of stinks, but you know, I just had to like pray and make sure that because I don't want to be happy when somebody else fails.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be like glad when even if they are like my enemy or whatever in the sport, I don't want to be happy if they don't succeed and stuff like that, you know? So I just had to pray, keep my heart straight and, you know, make sure I was focused on the right things. And, so that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, I was really just like blown away, honestly. I was like, I mean, no one expected that to happen. So.
Yeah, it was truly a shocking moment. How did it come about that this match would happen? How did that start? Who started that conversation? Did one of you guys reach out to each other? Did Rudis organize? How did it come to be?
Yeah, I mean, Rudis organized it. We wanted to have one of the biggest matches that we could think of. And I wanted it to be best 2 out of 3, no matter who I was going to wrestle. And then, I mean, obviously Jaden being here and the match not happening in April made sense for us to do it, and he agreed to it. So yeah, I mean, everything's I like it because everything's real about it. You know, we're making scratch weight, we're wrestling best 2 out of 3. It's like, it's just like the Olympic trials. And yeah, then we get to see who's the best.
And one thing that was alluded to, and I think everyone kind of is expecting, at some point, you guys are not only going to wrestle, you know, March 16th, but it's going to be for world team and Olympic team spots again soon. Probably not this year. It sounds like Jaden's going to wrestle in Final X for 92, but eventually he's going to move back up. How much does that excite you? The idea that Jaden's going to be moving up into your class, and this could be the start of a rivalry or a rekindling, I guess, since you guys have wrestled before.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. When I think when I think about my competition, you know, I feel like everybody that I compete against, I get the very best of that person. You know, like everybody, it's like if they wrestle me, it's like it's their world championship match. You know, I just feel like everybody wrestles me as hard as they possibly can. You know, at least in the beginning of the match, and then maybe they get tired and stuff. So it gets a little easier after that. But with Jaden, he's one of the few guys in my weight that, makes me compete to my top level. He's somebody that is very motivating for me in training, knowing that he's in my weight, like him, Soldier Live, guys like that. It's like, I'm thankful for those guys being in my weight class because they just sharpen me up to a level that I probably couldn't reach without them. So, even just this match, I feel like because of the way that he wrestles, it's made me focus on a lot of things in training that, I might not have spent much time on, and they're valuable against everybody that I compete against. So I'm glad. I mean, I want him to stay in the weight, and I think it's going to be good for me.
So there's been a ton of rumor mill about you guys training together, practicing together, OTC practice matches, etc. Can you give us maybe a little color on how that's been in the lead up, how much you guys have actually trained together, how many matches you have done, and whatever information or details you want to disclose is up to you. But
yeah,
they've been talked about a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so the last time we wrestled competitively in a real match was 2015 at the US Open.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while, obviously, since we competed against each other. But since then, he's been one of my main training partners, at pretty much every camp that we go to, and then leading up to the World or Olympic Games. It's like he's one of the guys that I wrestle multiple times throughout the week. So, I mean, we've wrestled probably, 500 minutes of live wrestling together.
Whoa.
So we're very familiar with each other. So it's good. Yeah. We train a lot together.
Is it a advantage, disadvantage? There's a common debate in wrestling of, wrestling against someone or training against someone who's going to be your ultimate nemesis, right? Or ultimately someone that stands in your way. Where do you fall in that? Is it an advantage? Is it a disadvantage?
For me, at this point, I wouldn't want to train with the person I'm competing against, like 4 weeks out or whatever. I'm not going to be training with that person. But other than that, I like training with my competition, and I would wrestle anybody because I think it's to my benefit. I feel like I learn a lot every time I wrestle them. And also I believe I wrestle at a tough pace, and they get to feel what it's like. And it's only going to be more intense in a real competitive match, So I feel like it's to my benefit.
Switching
and that's
gears.
the way it's always been for me.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I was young, when I was first getting on the senior level scene, like I'd be asking JD, Bergman, and Tervel and Varner, and Cale Byers and Pendleton. Like I'd be asking all those guys to go as much as I possibly could. And even when I made the team, I was still going with them. So nothing really changed.
Makes sense. A question I have, and one thing I remember when you first burst onto the scene, senior level, you win a title. I don't remember if it was a quote or something you had said or someone reported, but that you had ambitions of wrestling in like 5 Olympics or wrestle to your 35 or 36. And I'm curious, like, now you're a 7-time medalist, you're 26 years old. Do you still have a similar perspective? Or I guess maybe I should start, was that true? And 2, do you hold a similar perspective?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I still hold a similar perspective. I mean, honestly, I feel like wrestling is getting easier as I get older. Wow. And I feel like I'm
easier in what sense? Like you're mentally simplifying what you want to do, or like how?
Well, I think first of all, I've become more efficient in the way that I train. So, sure. And I just think I've spent so much time on the mat that now I can kind of like, obviously I still train really hard, but I'm smart about the way that I do it. So as I get older, I just have to do less and less and less. because I've done so much work before then.
Mhm.
And, it's like I still love wrestling so much that none of it is really like a big deal to me, like any of the work and stuff like that. So I feel like as long as that's how it is in my heart and my mind, then I'm not going to have any problem continuing to train and compete. I've also been blessed to have like no injuries basically throughout my career. So I think that has helped me a lot. And I mean, yeah, Lord willing, I'd like to wrestle. I'll do whatever God wants me to do, but I'd like to wrestle and into my 40s, like,
Oh my gosh.
and also
Tom
just
Brady.
Dang.
seeing,
Tom
yeah,
Brady.
seeing somebody like Coach Kale. I mean, Coach Kale's like 41, and I mean, he can wrestle forever, and he never gets tired, and like it's not like he's taken the best care of his body over the past decade and stuff like that, but it's still, I mean, he's still like at a really high level. I mean, if he wanted
He's
to
never had
compete,
any major injuries, right, Kyle? Kale never has ever had major injuries.
No, I don't think so.
You were about to say something, and Ben interrupted you, and it's the thing I
My
wanted to hear the most.
bad.
I want to
My
hear. You were going to
bad.
say something about how Kale would do if he were entering
Yeah,
senior
how
level
would he do?
competition.
Yeah. No, I mean, he still be like one of the guys. Like, I mean, it would be, I mean, especially with his style, the way that he wrestles now, like his defense is so good and he's so tricky. Like, if anyone were to just wrestle him one time without having felt him before, it would be a big problem for them.
See,
Yeah.
I one of the things, a theme of FRL that we talk, it comes up probably once every couple months, is like Kale's senior level career is a huge what if, because he hung it up in his prime, and he came back and he showed he was still high level. He destroyed a junior or a world silver medalist in Herbert, and was right there in the medal matches. Lost to an Olympic champion, Sharifov. And it's just affirming that, like, man, what could have been with Kale, even though he was an absolute legend and an Olympic champion.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm curious. So you won a world title at 19, and I'm curious how differently do you view the sport? At 19 years old, you reached a pinnacle of the sport, but I'm sure you've learned so much in the 7 or however many years it's been since you did that. How differently do you view the sport, or how differently do you view things since that first world title?
I would say honestly not that different. I mean, my mindset's always been I want to keep improving. I want to dominate when I compete. I don't just want to I want to be offensive, score points, and just winning, like, in my mind, isn't enough. I want to destroy people. So that's how I think in 2015, that's how I thought, and that's kind of like what was ingrained in me, and it's still how I think today.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of things have been really consistent, and but you're just always refining that stuff and improving.
A couple months ago, you made a trip to Dagestan. Everyone in wrestling was kind of following along on social media as you kind of palled around with Sajalayev. I think there's a film or a documentary style piece that chronicles that on Rudis. But I'm really curious, and maybe that's something that's revealed in the episode. But Sajalayev seems like someone in the media and in his quotes. He seems like a very humble and respectful champion, a good guy. He's kind of hardish to hate. I still don't wish him any victories at all, but he's kind of hard to dislike. He's not like a Sargouche type of wrestler. But what is he actually like? What is Sajalayev like? How much are you able to actually glean with the language barrier?
We had a translator, everywhere we went, so that made it a lot easier. And I'm also learning Russian, so I'm like,
really? Give us a line real quick. Niet, privyet, that's all I know.
Ask me a question. I don't know. It's hard for me to just come up with stuff in my mind.
Just
say like, My breakfast was delicious.
Yeah.
Moja zatrkaje sami luci.
Oh wow.
Wow. Boom.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Очень вкусно. Vkusno is delicious. Vkusno.
Nice.
So
Matt,
I'm learning.
Max
I have a
speaks
tutor.
some Russian.
I have a tutor. So I have a tutor. I meet with the tutor twice a week for an hour. I've been doing that for like 5 months. So
Wow.
and then I studied on my own for a while before then. So like when I was in Dagestan, I got a lot better at hearing. Like I couldn't hear what people were saying. So just spending time there helped me with that. And I feel like I came back and I got a lot better at speaking the language and stuff. But I want to become fully fluent. So I feel like I'm like a year away from being fluent, and then that would be cool. But yeah, I mean, we had a translator anyway. So, that helped a lot in regards to just being able to communicate and stuff. And I mean, it was like he was the best host that I had ever, I mean, it was crazy that the trip that he put on for us, and he was planning all of it, like everything that we did, he was planning. And he just wanted to show us the best time. So, I mean, in the beginning, it's kind of like you don't kind of trust what they're doing because you grow up and you hear about how the Russians are so sneaky and they're deceptive and they look like they're going to do something nice for you, but then they end up stabbing you in the back or whatever, So that's kind of like what was in my mind in the beginning. And then they do like 10 nice things for you in a row. And they're like, okay, I mean, they're not trying to trick us anymore. They're just trying to, give us a good time.
So one thing that Ben had been talking about and we were discussing was the idea of, the camaraderie you developed with Sagilayev seemingly, and maybe Ben could probably give his perspective better than I could, but just the idea that like people want to think about you disliking, wanting to be not having any love towards Sagilayev, and it seemed like there was a lot of love there.
Listen. So this was just saying, me as a fan, I want to be a fan. I want to watch Kyle Snyder and think, I want him to beat this sneaky, dirty Russian, right? And I want to fully enjoy the experience. And if I'm like, I know Sagilayev is a great dude, and I know they're buddies, like I'm not going to have the same emotional tie into it. And I'm not your coach. And I'm not you, so obviously I understand what you're doing is probably significantly healthier. But as me as a fan, I want some bad blood.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, there's no love on the mat. Everything's the same when we compete, and I couldn't even understand a lot of the things that he was saying when I was there because there were parts where there wasn't a translator. So then going back and watching some of the documentary, they had a lot of the stuff that he said translated. And I was like, oh, he's taking a little jab at me, like some of the parts, like he was like, when we went to his village, we went to his school where he grew up, and he said, I didn't know he said this, but he said like, I wanted to take Snyder to the harsh climate that developed the man that took all his gold medals.
Oh my
like,
God.
Wow.
Dang.
I can't believe he said that.
Not all of Yeah, because you could have said not all of them, sir.
Right. Yeah. And there's more to come, so let's go. But so I mean, he's competitive, and both of us want to win. So, and neither of us, I mean, obviously we plan on meeting again in wrestling.
I'm just gonna pretend like you guys hate each other then. Just for my own purposes as a fan, I'm just gonna pretend that's the case. But actually, I almost brought this up earlier, and no one probably wants to comment on it, but obviously it's looking like you're not even gonna get to wrestle them this year because they just had Russia out of Europeans, and they're trying to suspend them from the Worlds, I guess, also, which is, I mean, this is literally happening in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They could still compete at Worlds under a neutral flag.
So and I guess the question out of that is what if you enter the World Championships and there's not a Russian in your bracket? What do you think about that, Kyle?
Yeah, it wouldn't feel as, I mean, there's still other good guys, but it wouldn't feel as like official without the Russian. Yeah. And without Sajalayev. I mean, if Sajalayev is still competing, then that's the guy I want to wrestle against.
Of course. So you've wrestled him, I guess, four times now in your career. And you wrestled him at the Olympics and Oslo really close. How different, if at all, does he feel match to match? How different of looks does he give you match to match? Does he ever like surprise you? Has there ever been a tactic that he's implemented that surprised you?
No, I mean, I just think that I got to change some things in the way that I wrestle against him. I feel like I'm wrestling him in a lot of his best positions and, wrestling him in the ties a lot where he feels real comfortable. And I'm also really good in the ties. I'm a good hand fighter. So it's like difficult for me to not wrestle in those positions, but he's a defensive wrestler against me. He's going to wait for me to attack and to try and score off of that. He wants to put me on shot clocks and stuff. So I feel like I have to take the match to a different place, and that's where it'll be successful. So those are the things I'm working on, those things, and I feel confident about it. And yeah, so it'll be good.
Is he tough to, I mean, this is an obvious sort of question, but, having guys replicate feels and looks is good for training, right? Someone that can wrestle like Jaden is probably hard to find. Someone that can wrestle like Cedric. Do you guys work with that? Is it like, okay, Kale's going to do this thing that Sajalayev does? Is that something y'all mess around with a little bit and try to simulate?
Yeah, they mess around. We do that. I mean, we have guys give us those feels, and honestly, Varner can mimic anybody, and
really?
he's a really good partner because you don't find a lot of guys as big as him, as strong as him, and as athletic as him. So, and he's another guy that if he decided that he wanted to compete again, I mean, he would be right there. I mean, he's really, really good. Yeah.
When you're talking about, I mean, because obviously, when Christian brings up Sajalayev and mimicking him, obviously, I think Varner's a good look because of how powerful he is. And it's like Kale obviously has his own strengths, but, a lot of Sajalayev's thing is just how powerful in his positioning. So I would assume that Kale's probably not actually a good Sajalayev replica, and Varner's the better one. Is that fair or no?
I mean, both of them wrestle real well in the chest lock, and they're both defensive wrestlers, so I think either one of them does a good job. Varner definitely just has like the raw power, that you feel when you wrestle some guys at that weight class, at 97 kilo. So he's just, really good.
Awesome.
Got it.
Well, Kyle, man, this has been awesome. Really have enjoyed catching up with you. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else related to the Jaden match?
I think we need a prediction for the Super Match 1 on March 16th.
Yeah, and there's 2 matches,
Possibly three.
possibly three. Yeah,
possibly you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm just gonna go out there and wrestle as hard as I can, and I don't think that I never plan on losing any matches. So in my mind, it's going to go 2 matches, and but just going to wrestle as hard as I can and see what happens.
With the run of show, are you one of the first matches? I haven't seen the exact bout order. You're the only 2 out of 3. So how are they doing that?
Yeah, so we're like 7th and then 14th. And then if it ends up going to a 3rd, they're going to have like, a 30-minute break where they're kind of just like breaking down highlights and stuff like that. And then we'll wrestle again.
Well, I think Ben's going to be there.
I wouldn't be opposed to just wrestling a 3rd match for free.
Okay, just there. Do it
as well.
Hey, yeah. No one would turn that down. You know what we could do also, since Ben's going to be there, and Jordan's going to be there. If it goes a third match, maybe we get another little exhibition going.
I said someone easy. I said someone easy, not Jordan Burroughs.
Jordan's going to be very tired. He wrestled 5 matches at Yasser Dogu. He's going to be exhausted. You'll be ready for him, Ben. I think this is your time.
I want someone easy.
Okay, Beacon Burroughs then.
I'll pin him quick. It ain't going to take long. 4 seconds.
Well, Kyle, man, I really appreciate you coming on. It's always good catching up with you. Thanks so much, and we can't wait to watch you March 16th. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kyle. Have a good day.
Yep.
There you have it. 7-time world and Olympic medalist. That is so dang many, and he's 26 years old.
Yeah.
The Jaden Kyle thing's funny because man, it's kind of hard to find much nicer dudes, but they're so freaking good. But
hey, one thing I thought we maybe never see would never see touched because of just kind of how things were going in, say, the earlier 2000s was Bruce Baumgartner having 15 world medals. You kind of thought like, dude, this no one can get the freaking 5. Like how is anyone ever going to break that? And now obviously, Jordan has 8 or 9, and Kyle's already at 7. He's only 25, and he's talking about wrestling till he said he's gonna wrestle till he's 40. I want him to revisit that because I think I still felt like Superman in at age 25, and I think it was like the early 30s where, well, I obviously had the hip issue, but my body started really slowing down. So I'll be curious to revisit that, say 2028 or something, and it'd be awesome to see if he still has that goal.
For sure. And one thing I remember when he said it. Or when he talked about it, I can't remember how it materialized. It's kind of funny to say it was so long ago, but it kind of was. But I remember thinking, okay, but who's the Kyle Snyder that's going to be coming up that we don't even know about yet? That's wrestling in Tulsa Nationals that we don't even know exists. And one thing that I think you could say is like, man, well, there's no one in the view of Kyle that I can see other than Jaden, of course, that is like going to be nipping at his heels anytime soon, right? So in the next,
who can I protest that statement?
Keegan O'Toole.
Well, I mean, he ain't get that big. Hell no. No, I guess what I'm going to say to that statement is, obviously Kyle looks like that, and Jaden, because they reached their pinnacles at such an early age. I mean, Kyle won a world title at 19 and Jaden at 21. That being said, a lot of other guys, say like even Jordan Burroughs, started their international level success significantly later. Or even think about like a David Taylor, who was so great in college, but didn't really have the international success till significantly later. And right, so some of these guys, like, and who knows where they're going to go, right? Like an AJ Ferrari, obviously high level college success, wasn't close at the World Team Trials last year, Olympic trials, but that doesn't mean. I mean, we're talking 2028. That doesn't mean he couldn't develop prior to then, right? Or say a Rocky Elam or a Braxton Amos, guys that won junior world titles. Is that fair or no?
I just think the gap is so. Yeah, those are names, and I guess if you had to say names of young guys who have shown some promise, those would be the names. But man, I think they're way off. I mean,
they are right now.
And I guess my point is, what we're seeing is guys are so much better when they get there. And I know there's the Kyle Dakes and David Taylors who made teams.
Thomas Gilman.
Quote later, right? But listen, Thomas. I don't know. I guess
Thomas Gilman, that's a fair one. I mean, he didn't have any international success, and even his last year of NCAAs. I mean, Christian, think about it. At NCAAs his senior year, he's 22 or 23 years old, and if you said this guy's going to go win a world title, and he doesn't win NCAAs, you're like, come on, he's so far away, which is true. And then he ended up actually making the team and winning a silver that year. Yeah, it took him a few more years to add on to that, but he's there, So, I feel like those 3 names I mentioned who all have had either NCAA or junior international level success. Maybe it's not this year, but
if it's Rocky Elam, I'll be stunned. I'll be honest.
But say in 2025, right? 2025 is still 3 years away, but that's still 3 years prior to the 2028 Olympics, and we're talking. That's kind of what we're talking about. Like, in 3 years, dude, the amount of progress that can be made. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I maintain it's right now, and even for the next 4 or 5 years, I think it's just Jaden. personally.
Okay.
That's what I see.
I think you're wrong on this one, and because that time window is so wide, if you're saying next 5 years, none of these dudes are gonna get that much better, like it's possible, but I think it's if I had to bet on one of these odds right now, I'm betting on someone else coming up to challenge him in 5 years because I don't think you're realizing how large of a time window that is.
I'm with Ben. I was talking with somebody the other day, and this is kind of back to NCAA, but like, is guys' best window now almost to win a title in their first 2 years?
Well, part of my point, I guess, is like the guys are so good, and how close are guys to their pinnacle when they're freshmen, sophomore, juniors in college? Yeah. If they've been in the grind like a Braxton, like a Elam, like a whoever, right? How close to optimized are they? I think there are some that are really close to maybe as good as they'll get. I'm not saying that is the case for Braxton or Rocky. I'm saying that is a possibility.
Yeah, so if you said 2024, which is only 2 years away, I said I'm in, Christian. I agree totally. Just that 5-year window is so big. And to your point, JD, about the guys winning in their first 2 years, obviously given the current training environment, there's a significantly higher percentage who are ready by that point in time. But there's still going to be some outliers who get significantly better over their NCAA career. And actually, I have one of my frustrations, and because I have kids in a lot of different programs, is a lot of programs, I mean, literally, and it's both the program and it's the athlete, stop developing after their second year of college. They literally say like either it's that fixed mindset. I'm really good at this. I'm going to be good at this, or I'm just not, and it's super frustrating because if you just think about how much development can happen over the course of a year, if you don't give up, if you just say, I'm going to continue to get better, like there's huge jumps that can be made, but there's so many college kids by the time, and a lot of it could be because they spent so much time, grinding in youth wrestling and they're just kind of worn out. But there's a lot of development that stops at that, 20, 21 years old age. And it doesn't have to. And then because we see the outliers, we see the other guys who are not stopping and continue to get better.
Yeah. It's fun to
think
about.
Even a Gable. Think how much better Gable Stevenson's got in the last year. And this is a guy he's at the pinnacle of the sport and he's still got better. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Okay, so we have plenty to get to. That was a very fun way to start the show. Less fun. IOC suggests no Russia or Belarus.
They become allies with Russia.
For competition. So it'll be interesting to see how this all develops. It's obviously really sad what's happening in Ukraine. What Russia's doing is gross and bad and sad, and hopefully it doesn't impact the sport too well. But it's kind of weird to wish for something like that when that's so small compared to what's actually happening.
That's why I hate it. Like, sports are supposed to be politics aside,
free.
And people's issue isn't with athletes, it's with
the other thing here, I don't go political, but who gets to be the arbiter of truth? And it's like China has human rights violations. They just hosted an Olympics.
Literally hosted. I mean,
they hosted it.
Yeah,
there's significant human rights violations. There have been other wars that have happened in the last 20 years where you would say one of the parties is significantly in the wrong, and we haven't seen anything else like this happen. So who's the arbiter of truth? And if we're going to do this, are we going to do this across the board to everyone who puts violence on other people, or are we just doing this one time and that's it?
And I would say we can always wish that the sports and Olympics are politics free, but like the 80 Olympics, we didn't go. 84, Russia didn't go. It's not like this is unprecedented to have happened.
Who gets punished here? Athletes.
Yeah,
of course.
Like this shouldn't be a way to
listen. Yeah, or Russia finds their way into all these things. Yeah. They've got 9, 10, 11 lives athletically. I mean, they shouldn't have been in the 16 games. Probably shouldn't have been in 2020, and they were. And all they did was change their anthem and make them wear slightly different singlets. So this is different. This is for different reasons, obviously, but. Don't underestimate Russia's political capital that they have within the IOC, and
Well, the thing actually, I was sorry. Go ahead, JD.
What's concerning is Russia pulled out of the Euro Championships. Not they were banned. They made the decision themselves. Mommy did to not go. But it's also kind of like you can't ban us if we don't go. Type
Yeah,
thing.
you know what? The kid doesn't get to pick his punishment. You know, when he gets busted. Try his.
Yeah. So the other thing I was gonna say is, and I almost said it when Kyle's on the show because it'd be interesting if they do the neutral flag gimmick. Then you're saying like, well, do all Russians get to wrestle under that neutral flag? Do they have a wrestle off? Then who has the wrestle off? Does Russia have the wrestle off and determine who's going to be the neutral flag athlete? Because if that's the case, then isn't it just Russia? Like,
yes.
How do you, like, how do you determine that?
Of course, the Russian Wrestling Federation would have wrestle offs or would have their Russian nationals,
and then determine the neutral flag athlete. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy to be starting the show not talking about freaking Big 10 and Big 12 preseason.
Let's do Big 10s.
Let's do the biggest of 10s. What were the surprises as you saw them, JD? What stood out to you? Did anything stand out to you? Was this about what we expected?
For the most part, it's kind of what I think we all expected. A lot of people were shocked at 174.
Well, we called that, right? Didn't we?
Yeah, we called it. But like Iowa fans who maybe didn't listen show up and they see Kimmer at the 4.
No, they weren't surprised.
I saw a lot of people that were surprised.
Way. Come on, Iowa fan. He lost to Labriola. What are you gonna do?
I know.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I didn't think there was anything that was that surprising. Because they wrestled a full schedule, so we got to see a lot of these guys versus a lot of these guys.
Schultz over Dean for the top spot at 197, but that's not very shocking because Schultz lost to a Big 12 wrestler. Dean lost to Caffey.
Yep.
So,
Makes
I
sense.
mean, one that just looked shocking, but it's when you go through the results, it's like, oh yeah, duh. Is Micic at the 6? That pops out, and you're whoa, really? And then, but you're like, yeah, that's where he should be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's if he'd rather be, if that's the side he'd like to be on, but they get 7 spots. Micic, interestingly, did not earn an allocation, but he's seated within the allocation thing. So he would likely have Rivera. This would be a Micic Rivera quarterfinal, and then the winner gets Jaden. So I don't know if of the big 3. Lee, Ironman, Rivera. Who do you think Stevan matches up with the best?
Well, the problem with being a 6 is you'd have to beat
literally all of them.
Beat all 3 of them,
In
and
order.
if you're the 4 or 5, I mean, that being said, Chad Redd's really good, also, obviously.
No doubt, and they probably wouldn't hit until backsides. But do you think But my original question: do you think Micic matches up better with Rivera, Ironman, or Lee? I know he would have to beat all of them to win Big 10. So I'm just asking a question.
If he's
beaten Rivera.
Yeah, but not this year and not this weight class. I mean, I just feel like he, given what we've seen from him this year, I think beating any of them is shocking, isn't it? Now we have to define shocking because Shane Sparks come back on here and yell at us.
You know what? And you know what, Ben?
Define it!
This guy is the guy who said shocking and just sent us all down a shock
rabbit hole.
A rabbit hole of shock. I re-listened to that this morning and it was funny.
Big Nike Shocks guy.
I can't wait to talk. I can't wait for Sparks to come on tomorrow because I know he feels very vindicated that the placement points for Big Tens have Iowa right there with Penn State. But we said on the show, you said and I said, it's like Big Tens, Iowa could definitely win. Wouldn't be surprised. Would not be shocked. It's like also there's the thing, and maybe we can talk about it tomorrow. The shock, there is a continuum of shock. It could fall in. It's like, okay, if Vladimir Putin walked in this thing, dressed like a clown on a pogo stick, that would be more shocking than Iowa winning. But there is a continuum of shock, right? Things are more shocking than others. And maybe it was the wrong word. I think it's the right word. I have a strategy for tomorrow, Shane, and I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Like, can we please not do that?
I've got a strategy. I'm going to walk him down a path, and I'll make him admit.
Ben hates it.
What if I make him admit?
I'm going to come on 15 minutes late then. I'm coming on 15 minutes late because I can't take it. Last week, it just kept being the same thing. I literally had to leave. I went and took a piss, and then I'm like, "Oh, you're still talking." I went and got some coffee. I'm like, "I can't take this anymore."
I'm gonna dock your pay, Ben. 15 minutes.
Oh, can we not do that? Let's talk about something else.
No, you're docked. I've docked.
Oh God,
it's been docked. It will be reflected.
JD, you just text me when Shane and Christian are done with this shenanigans tomorrow. You just text me, and then I'm coming on.
Okay.
All right. So Drake Ayala is going for Iowa. We knew this. He wrestled against Nebraska. This is great.
It's actually kind of a decent matchup for him against Barnett, I feel like.
Yeah. Barnett is just such an interesting one. I mean, obviously against someone like there's guys that Barnett doesn't match up great against. I don't know if Drake matches up awesome against Barnett or if it's scary. I think Drake will have such an advantage. I think he has an advantage on his feet, right? I think that's probably
Barnett struggles. So where Barnett excels the most is in the scrambles. He's very good on top, and he's really good on bottom with like getting reversals, and especially like reversals to back points, you know? And so it's like, if you look at what Drake Ayala does, he doesn't overly ride or try to do crab riding or leg riding or anything like that. He's generally pretty clean on his finishes. So if you want to say from a matchup standpoint, it's actually, I feel like, a pretty good matchup for Ayala. But, obviously, Barnett could very easily get him in one of those scrambles and get a 6-point move. And then obviously it's super hard for Ayala to win.
Yes. I actually think the draw is pretty favorable for Drake. I mean, there's not a really easy draw in the Big Ten, but you get Barnett, who you're going to at least have an advantage against on your feet. And then Hildebrandt, I'm curious for that. Hildebrandt is maybe a similar problem to Barnett, but for different reasons. Like Drake will maybe have an advantage on his feet. He's definitely a more dynamic leg attacker, whereas Drew would prefer to counter. It's the top wrestling, I think, for both these guys. Can he navigate the top wrestling of Barnett and Hildebrandt?
So if you were to get a couple takedowns on Barnett, he may not have to choose bottom.
He ought not, I would say.
It'd probably be a bad idea.
Although I said the same thing at Who's Number One against Richie Figueroa. I said, don't go under this guy. It's not smart because Richie's really good on top, and he went under and got away. So, and Drake is not bad from the bottom position. He has struggled with McKee, but he has gotten away from McKee as well.
Yeah. Hey, what people? I saw people on a forum and then they're in the chat and YouTube talking about to go to a different weight class. Rivera's injury. Do we got any inside information? Because I hear other people saying like it's no big deal at all.
He finished the match that he was hurt in, but it was noticeable that he was hurting while finishing. So, but I don't have any insight now.
Rutgers, normally the rumors about Rutgers get out pretty quick if it's bad. So, like, I remember when Alvarez was like having weight problems or whatever last year. It was kind of known then.
So they know they got a leak within the program.
They got a mole.
They got to find the leak. They got a mole.
A rat.
No, but I think he's probably fine. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. But we'll see. We'll see what he looks like at Big Ten. So 25, the story really is Drake Ayala, right? He's the 6th seed. They get 10 spots, so Drake is very likely to qualify. And he's got it. There's a path to the finals for Drake at Big Tens.
Agreed.
Navigable. 133.
One thing that did surprise me, Big Ten with 12 allocations at 184.
Wild.
And Abasad did not earn one.
Yeah, but he's the 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he'll get in.
Under what criteria did he not earn one? Not enough matches or what? Winning percentage?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We don't know. Yeah, that was surprising. But let's kind of work our way up. So that's 25. That's basically the story at 25. Not as juicy a weight, 133. You really figure it's going to be a DeSanto RBY showdown in the finals. That'll be a blast. DeSanto will have to get by Lucas Bird, which he's been able to do historically.
Close, though.
Of note, he dominated him, and then they had a close-ish one. Of note, DeSanto Cannon quarterfinal.
Yeah.
We I like Chris Cannon. Obviously not in this match.
I think
I like
Bird is a much tougher match for DeSanto.
than
yeah,
Cannon.
Bird's good.
Yes.
But
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying
I
that's a
think you're
tough
talking
quarter.
about Hudkins and Hudkins. Like Hudkins must have beat Cannon to be at the 6 because otherwise, I feel like I felt like that was a little low for Cannon.
I think Cannon missed some time too, if I'm
Yeah, maybe
remembering
that's why.
correctly, and that can jack up your seed for sure. Other than that, not a ton. Foley, Ragusin 4-5 will be a fun quarter. Winner gets Roman.
So he does not have he does not. So his 3 losses are Foley, Bird, and Ragusin are his 3 losses
Yes,
for Cannon.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what that's based on. When you look at 141, it's only 7 spots, but listen to this pecking order. Lee, Ironman, Rivera, Red, Berglund, Micic, D'Amelio, Zargo, Duncan, Talshahar is a really tough 10. So there's gonna be some good guys on the outside looking in and hoping for wild cards regardless.
Well, you got to assume at 3-2. So Dylan Duncan's record's 3-2. You got to assume there's no way he obviously earned a spot.
He needs to steal.
And Tal Shahar is 9-6, so I also couldn't assume he earned a spot either.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah,
Phillies is not a slouch at the 11.
He's not.
I mean, it's the Big Ten, so this is how it goes. 149, Sasso,
Ooh.
Austin Gomez, Lovett, Murin, Yaya Thomas. This says Make Van Brill. His name is Mike. Then Bo Bartlett, the GOAT, at the 7 seed.
What do you think about Mike? Obviously, he hasn't wrestled, but Kanan Storr at 11. This is another one just feels kind of off because he's been really good before. I think you think he's got any chance upsetting Van Brill or no?
He came back. He got injured at CKLV. He came back just a couple weeks ago and has not been good. Not 100%.
8-5.
If he's himself, yeah, he could beat Mike Van Brill. But if he's not, then it will be much tougher.
Your boy sneaking in.
Yeah. I didn't see these
Bo
Edinburgh
doesn't
Open
sneak.
matches for
He
him.
kicks through the door.
Kicks through the door by
Oh,
taking
my goodness.
a shot every 7 minutes of wrestling.
I mean, honestly, he
He's
could
selective.
be a tough matchup for Gomez. I mean, it's going to be because he doesn't shoot. Gomez has got really good reattacks. So that could be an issue. And then, Gomez also usually gets the underhook, and he's pretty good at controlling those positions generally.
Yeah,
Bartlett is.
Bartlett to the finals. Don't rule it out, and also look into it. But yeah, I think he'll qualify. I do. I think it is going to be tough because there's good guys slotted outside the top 7. Guys like Blockus, guys like Kanan Storr. So he'll have to wrestle well.
Blockus
for sure.
has not had a good season though.
No, he isn't. I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, you're right. Very
And
true.
I feel like Chancellor also is not been very good. So who knows? Maybe Kanan Storr could maybe steal a spot from. I could definitely see from Van Brill or Bartlett getting knocked off there.
So 157, the story here, IMO, is Brady Bergie. He is the 10 seed,
yeah.
and there's only 7 spots. But as I look at this pre-seeds, I think he's got a. I would be really surprised if he doesn't steal a spot and finish in the
He's
top
got a decent
7
chance of making the finals.
out of the 10. So who give us his path?
So he would have to beat Model in the round of 16. So they'll be right off the bat.
Very doable.
So it's gonna be a tough match, but winnable. Caleb Young, he could win that match for sure.
Mhm.
Has he beaten him before? I'm not looking, but I'm assuming he could. And then he has to beat probably Will Lewan. Like those are all winnable matches. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not looking right now, but I wouldn't be shocked to see if him beat those guys previously.
So head to head, Caleb Young won their meeting 3-2.
Okay.
So very close. So that was the last NCAAs, I believe.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, for sure, I think that is a very favorable draw for Brady Bergie out of the 10. And yeah, that is a navigable path to the finals. Model for sure, which gets him in the quarters against Young, which it's gonna be a lot tougher because similar situation. Brady Bergie's best thing is his reattacks. They're really fast, and Young is going to be a super disciplined attacker of the legs. He's not going to shoot a bunch. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're Penn State and Brady Bergie are saying, give us the 10 all day, we're more than happy with that. 65, Karchla getting the 4, which is of tremendous benefit because it puts Marinelli and Hamidi are opposite, and I just don't. There's no one on Karchla's side that I think can contest him. Right? I just don't think Amin's not there right now. He hasn't been there this year to the level that Karchla has. We've got Caleb Fish at the 5, Braun. So I think he's got a great. I mean, I would be stunned
Easy
to nuts. I would be shocked if Carson Karchla doesn't make the finals. Marinelli, Hamidi. So your prediction has been Marinelli again here, but closer.
We'll say probably closer. Yes. So it was 8-5 the last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say closer.
Yes. Looking forward to that. There's not actually, this is not a very deep weight at the Big Tens. I mean, the 4 seed is Cam Amin, who has been not what he was last year. I think he's been dealing with some injury stuff. And then Caleb Fish, the 5. And then you got
the Big 12
Lori.
At 65 is tough.
Yeah.
It's
tougher.
Yeah, so let me just read that real quick. That was
Keegan Whitlake,
O'Toole,
Weber.
Hall, Yant, Whitlake, Weber, Cook. And that's probably
Shout out.
Grohl at 8 is decent.
Shout out the Fighting Brackies of West Virginia and Peyton Hall. He's a beast. Okay, then we've got 174. Starachi, Massa, Labriola, Kemmer, Ethan Smith. Just an insane top 5 here. And, we talked about this, that after he lost, even on our show last Wednesday, we said, Iowa fans, if you listen to FRL more, you would know that we said
this was obvious.
He's going to be the 4. He's going to have to be Ethan Smith. And then he'll face Carter Starachi to make the Big Ten finals. Not an easy path for sure.
So would it benefit Michael Kemmer to injury default out at the semis or no?
Why would that benefit him?
Well, if he doesn't take another loss to because those don't count against your record, right? Because you don't have another loss to Starachi, and then you wouldn't lose possibly in the wrestlebacks. I mean, because if you were to lose to Starachi in the semis and then lose it for 3rd place, I feel like that's going to push him way down. And being on the side of the 1 is way worse than being on the side of 2-3 at nationals.
I don't think that makes any sense at all, honestly. And I don't know that would help his seed at all either. Because what is Kemmer's resume this year? What's his wins? He doesn't have. I mean, we all know what he's done, what he did last year. But if you look at his resume this season, it's going to be hard to slot him super high. If
is he even AQ?
I think he did.
Did he earn a spot then?
I believe so. Yes.
7-2.
Yeah, I believe he earned one. But
his wins aren't bad. His wins are actually kind of good. O'Reilly, Nyhouse, Smith, Plott, McNally. Solid.
I mean, not. Yeah, but for what you're talking about. For what you're talking about, like getting a top 5 seed, if he beats Ethan Smith and defaults out, he's going to be seated behind Starachi, Massa, Labriola, Hidley, Lewis, probably at minimum those 5.
Yeah, 6 wouldn't be bad.
6 wouldn't be bad. 6 wouldn't be bad. And there's probably other names I'm not considering, but those are the big 5 or 6, and there's a big 6 really at this weight, I guess you could say, and depending where you slot Ethan Smith. But no, I think he should wrestle it out. I think that's the best way for him to improve his seed. But I don't know if this is the most anticipated weight, but it might be for me. Just looking forward to that. 12 allocations for 184. So this is a deep weight, says the NCAA for Big Tens. Brooks, Amin, Romero, Venz, Assad, Malshewski, Poznansky, Cochran, Washington, Salazar, Weiler, Bronigal. Dude, Max Lyon is the 13. Max Lyon's guy wins matches at NCAAs. He's not
the pride of Dubuque.
The pride of Dubuque. He's the best wrestler from Dubuque right now, I would say, potentially. So with that, you look at Brooks, you look at Amin, you figure that's a likely final, but man, Amin Romero had that crazy, crazy match at Ohio State where Romero was right there, but Amin did what he does, found a way to win. Anything disrupting a Brooks Amin final, Ben?
I think it's hell likely. Man, I can't believe I looked at Jack Chestnut at the 14. And remember, he was freaking, I don't know, I think number 1 out of high school.
Yeah.
And dude, he's 2-15 in the last 2 years. It's pretty rough. Rough.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's very clear. Brooks, I mean, Romero will probably make it close, but I don't think he'll get the win.
Right. Schultz, Dean, Caffey, Warner, Brucky, Panola, Balsick, Amos, Hoffman, Davison, Jerron Smith. Foy. This is a very deep weight, and the NCAA agrees with 11 allocation spots for this weight class. Interesting matches. Early, we'll have an 8-9 Amos versus Hoffman. That should be a good one.
Well, the other interesting match here, let me look this up to make sure I'm not full of crap, but didn't Wroblewski beat Cam Caffey early in the year? And one of the reasons Cam Caffey was so far down in the rankings?
At the Michigan State Open.
That happened.
That's happened, and that's the first round matchup right there.
First round match, a little revenge opportunity for Caffey. As Ben pointed out, the number 3. I mean, listen, let's just listen to this for a case in point for Big Ten depth. The number 14 beat the number 3 seed. The number 3 seed beat the number 1 guy in America, Max Dean. That's like how deep this weight class is. And the number 1 guy in America is actually the 2 seed at Big Tens, according to Big Ten seeding, which, you know, I'm not saying that that's necessarily even a bad seed to have Eric as the number 1. So what that gives us,
perfect sense,
and it gives Warner I think a tough path, because he's going to have,
for sure.
He'll have Wilhelm from Indiana, but then Brucky. That's a tough matchup for Warner. It's a tough matchup for Brucky.
Have they wrestled before ever or no?
They have. I want to say Warner has won it. Let me look it up real quick.
Well, they're from the same state in high school, so they probably wrestled in high school too, honestly. Or maybe not, because Warner was a lot smaller and grew big.
Classic split. 5-4 win for Warner, a 10-5 loss for. Sorry. Brucky beat him 10-5. Warner beat him 5-4.
That's a good match, especially. Oof. So yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see Brucky winning that match. I mean, there's no doubt there's a possibility.
Yes. So tough draw for Warner. Shane Sparks thinks he's going to win a national title. We'll see. We like the ladies, man.
Did he?
We like the ladies, man. He gives us some thrilling matches.
I said give him 2 periods, he'll win a national title.
That's why he's so good at freestyle. 2 periods.
That's it. Not 3 periods, only 2.
Nope. And then
Hoffman at the 9 is, I felt like he's had some good wins this year. He's beat Tanner Sloan, who's obviously good. He's been
Greg right Polsak there with some good guys too. He's right there with Max.
Right there. Yep.
That is going to be an interesting. Whoever comes out, Braxton or Hoffman,
8-9
gets the 1. Schultz. That's going to be You're watching that match, and Schultz will be favored, and I think he probably moves on. But that's a tough match for the 1 seed.
Yes. Hey, Hoffman and Schultz haven't wrestled this year. They didn't even wrestle last year, I don't think. I mean, obviously Hoffman's significantly better this year than he was last year.
Seemingly so.
I mean, yeah.
Then heavyweight, Paris Gable semi, which we said would be the case after Cassiope beat Kirkfleet. Kirkfleet beat Paris. Bada bing. So can't wait for that semi. Can't wait for another big tone. Kirkfleet match. Always interested in the chess matches. As we look for the early matches, a 2-7 Hilger Cassiope. We've seen that a bunch. It's been all big tone.
Yeah.
Kirkfleet Lance quarter. Probably all Kirkfleet. And then Paris Davison is a quarter.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if Kale can't have Mr. Greg figure out that double thigh pry, we're going to have an issue. And we know Cassiope's got a lot of power from the double thigh pry, but you got to freaking figure that out. Get some knee slide going. You're a big, strong dude. Get your knee slide going. Get something going.
Change over for me one time.
One changeover.
Something. Anything.
Okay. All right, Ben, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes here. We're gonna shift gears. State tournament last weekend. How did the boys do of AWA?
We had 16 champs and 79 placers.
Nice.
So yeah, up from our state champs were down, but we won almost every. So we don't really compete too much in Division III because we don't have a lot of kids there, just because of where our academies are located geographically. So last year we won almost every weight, so it was hard to repeat that. But we did go up from 59 to 79 on the placers. Had a couple heartbreakers, unfortunately, which you're always going to do, but mostly really good.
All right, well, congrats.
Yeah. And if you ever bring that up, how'd Mr. Caleb do?
Dude, it was, oh my gosh, it was an emotional mess for me. Felt like I was like coaching high school again, but it was awesome.
Oh my goodness.
He wrestled great. He wrestled really, really hard. He actually got second, which is, beyond my expectations. Which I had no real expectations because it's youth wrestling and whoever freaking knows. But he wrestled good. It was interesting going because it's my first like real intense youth wrestling tournament I've ever been to. He went to one.
What do you mean by real intense? Were there some nutso parents or what?
Yeah, exactly. So like I went to this one in Spring Klein, Texas. It was really small, just in a gym, kind of like a typical youth tournament.
Yeah.
And this was in the basketball arena where Texas A&M plays, and it's just like screaming coaches and nuts parents, and like,
oh man,
you're all crammed in, and there's like all these masks, and it just felt like, okay, this is like that youth wrestling thing you hear a lot about. And so I had some interesting observations. So like, there's a lot of good in youth wrestling happening, and there's still a lot of like the old school mentality that is, I think, destructive, that Ben obviously thinks is really destructive. And one of the funnier things was I'm watching this match. So we're on deck for a match, and I'm watching, as you do, you watch the match that's in front of you as you're waiting. And this kid is losing. And he's down 14-2. The kid, I think, is like 8 years old. Very young, very small kid. And he doesn't know what he's doing, okay? And so he's on top. The kid chooses bottom that's up by 12 points. And he's like, he keeps locking hands on bottom. He keeps locking hands on, like literally going into like a gut wrench position. And his coach is just so mad at this kid. He's like screaming at him about, you can't lock hands. Do not. What are you doing? Stop locking hands. I'm like, and I looked at Mike and I'm like, and Seamus, the other coach, I'm like, doesn't the coach know that this is his fault? Like, you're the one that didn't prepare this 8-year-old about locking hands. It's not his fault. You didn't prepare your kid. Like, when
the other thing is you just let them go. I mean, like, when we have kids like that are so young, they don't know what the hell they're doing. It's like, let them go. Like, I tell them, like, do this. And I even just look at the refs, because most time at that age, the ref will just, like, let the coach dictate. Yeah. So I'll just say, hey, we're going neutral, because he doesn't know the damn rules, obviously.
Yeah, he doesn't know the rules. So it's fine. And it's fine that happens, but, like, the kid is obvious. I mean, I'm thinking it's a stressful environment. There's screaming everywhere. It's loud. It's like you're in a singlet. It's this. You're getting physically beaten by another kid, and it's like allowed. So then now you're going to add to the chaos by screaming at this kid that doesn't know the rules that you didn't teach him. That was your fault, dude, not the 8-year-old. But like there's just like a lack of like the aware. And then it's such a sad thing. You just kind of want the match to end, like for the kid's sake. And then the other coaching staff, the kid locks hands against, and the coaches, they're like demonstratively asking for more locked hands calls in a match.
It's so annoying. I can't win. So like the first term Alex wrestled in, it was like she was like a deer headlight. She scored no points. But the last kid she wrestled was also really terrible, and he probably locked his hands like 15 times.
Yeah.
But it's like he obviously has no idea what he's doing, and my daughter sucks. So I'm not gonna go over here and try to win on a flippant technicality. Like they both suck. Just let them be out there, just do whatever they're doing. But there's so many coaches in that young age group. Because listen, the kids are not good. They lock hands a lot. Who are like, lock hands. You missed it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, you're freaking embarrassing. Shut up over there.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this ref is like, I mean, they're doing the Lord's work officiating these youth wrestling tournaments. It's not easy. And it's like, man, you're gonna harass them. But it's like when Caleb lost, he got pinned in an armbar. I'm like, okay, that makes sense because we have not gone over that extensively. There's so much to go over in wrestling, especially at the youth level. There's gonna be gaps and things that you just don't get to and get over. I was like, okay, that makes sense that he lost. That's an area that we haven't spent a lot of time in, and it makes sense he got pinned. But like the other coaches are like, I don't know. There's a lack of self-awareness and reflection, I think, with the coaches that I think would help. But it was great. I mean, I was really proud of him. He was very proud. Eventually, he was initially very disappointed that he didn't win, but that's okay. He's a very competitive kid, so it made sense. Jack Malanconico won, which was awesome. That kid he's very tough. He's very tough.
How old is he now? I'd say 12 or 13.
13.
Maybe?
13. We'll see. He's good. He's good, and he works really, really hard, and he really genuinely loves it, and it's all coalescing to some success. So it was really fun. Fun weekend, exhausting weekend. So I missed a lot of wrestling. I missed like the Yasser Dogu.
This is what I tell you about what sometimes we would love to do a Monday show, but it's so hard for me because usually Saturday and Sunday are kind of crazy, and then I miss a lot of stuff and I catch up on it on Monday.
Yes, yeah. So caught up. I was able to watch some of Jordan's matches. Were you able to catch some of those, Jordan Ernest Burroughs?
I was not. I didn't catch any Yasser Dogu because I was at the state tournament for about 72 hours in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The Iranian he wrestled really. The Iranian I guess wrestled him. He didn't try any moves. He slowed down Jordan in a. We've seen Jordan slowed down before, but this guy was like a masterclass of like not doing anything yet, really making it tough. He got Jordan put on the clock twice, I think, and. Jordan. So okay, I'll paint the picture for you guys. If you didn't see it yet, the match is on the site. But it's 1-1 and Jordan is winning, and he gets put on the clock with like 50 seconds left, ballpark, 50 seconds, and Jordan's on the clock. Gets down, the clock's ticking down. There's 3 seconds left in the shot clock, and Jordan's about to give up another point, and the guy grabs Jordan's singlet. In an exchange,
they love that trick over there,
and Jordan kind of gestured, and the ref saw it and stopped it with 3 seconds left, and Jordan got the point. Otherwise, if the 3 seconds expired, the point goes up for the Iranian, and then he's down 1. So then he was up 2-1, and he's able to hang on for the win. But the guy was fingers. He was doing everything you could to slow him down, and I guess you got to credit him for that, for being that close. But Jordan finds a way. He's more dominant against Chance. He's working this lefty collar and ankle like a ton, and he hit it a couple times on Chance. So I don't know if it's new, but it looked like it was a definite point of emphasis for him in the tournament.
I thought it was pretty surprising that Chance made the finals. Were you? There wasn't really any other results I was kind of surprised by, but that was one that I felt pretty surprising.
He beat Sabalov.
Yeah.
And Sabalov also lost to McFadden on the backside. So
Sabalov's best days clearly behind him.
This is the Burroughs.
Yeah, this is that attack I was telling you about, Ben, right there.
Oh, pretty nice.
Lefty. It's simultaneous, the collar and ankle. Boom, boom. Well, almost simultaneous.
Yeah. Oh, those yeah. Can't be exactly simultaneous, otherwise you wouldn't have any pressure on the head. So
yes.
Yeah. Great timing by Mr. Burroughs.
Yes. So he had to wrestle all 5 matches in one day, which is, he said he hasn't done since, I think he said 2017, but maybe not even then. So
yeah,
that's a pretty tough challenge for him. There were other notables, but we can keep pressing on here. Big 12 seeds came out, pre-seeds.
You want to talk about James Green?
Oh, you go ahead.
He took silver. He lost to Baby Oz in the finals, but he looked really good. So he got a nice win in the semifinals. He beat a guy who's like top 5 in the world medalist from Russia, 3-2, and was trailing like the entire match. Then scored a takedown with something like 10 seconds left to win.
Boom.
Maybe less.
I see the clip in here too, and I did watch this a few times, but that. I think you have Shakiev. I didn't realize who it was. That scramble. Oh my god!
Yeah, the crazy. So everyone, it's
Would
sort
you
of like
play that?
It ends in like
oh my god!
It ends in like a spladle type of position. Here it is. But Shakiev looks like a beast here with his cartwheel here to not give up exposure. And so
I
I
felt
thought
like he's still exposed there, but whatever. Sure.
I give credit there. No.
No, he was on his head the whole time,
on
foot
his
to
head.
foot.
But
Head
then This dude.
Oh my God.
I mean,
This
the
is
flexibility,
wild.
and I'm like, man, Shakiev is a flexible person. But then
the
this
other thing that's
Spladle-
kind of notable about this is how tight he was able to keep his arm there, because the entire time as Shakiev was doing the cartwheel, that he wasn't able to like shimmy his shoulder out of there, because obviously the arm is relatively smooth, and usually if someone's locking on it, you can at least slide. Maybe it's like not like a limp arm, you come out the whole thing fast, right?
Yeah.
But like you can usually, if something's even tight, you can usually shimmy out just a tiny bit and a tiny bit and a tiny bit. But for some reason, he was able to keep that arm clamped so tightly that he never even got anything out of it.
Yeah, I can't even see the exact grip he has.
Well, it's an overhook grip.
Yeah, I know.
But even in that, like usually, like you can get like a tiny bit of space, and then that's enough to clear the position.
Yeah,
but nowhere could he get an inch.
I wonder if Shakiev was just a little confused about where he was in the position too. I don't know, but it was a crazy exchange. I mean, you see a world champion pinned and pinned like
this guy's good though. He's
obviously
top 10 in the world.
Yeah, and listen, seeing Russian world champs or world champs in general go down and not world championship things is like not all that uncommon either. Like you never know. Like Americans, we generally stay like very prepared year round, whereas Russians will just like kind of enter tournaments less than optimized. So that was cool. Jakara and Forrest Molinari won gold.
McKenna, the match before this with Shakiev, he had him almost dead to rights. He was winning. Tyler, you can pull up the clip. It's in the asset folder. Something like 6-3 or something with less than a minute to go, but he ended up getting taken down and laced up.
The good thing about freestyle and why I like freestyle is like it's pretty hard to ever be dead to rights because you can score points so fast. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Here's
This one's kind of long because I think the final ended up being 11-7. There was a bunch of points scored.
That is a very positive feature of freestyle, Christian.
Yes.
And they're doing this new thing now in the rule book where you can get a step out and a caution in one in the same move.
Good. I didn't realize that was the case because that is how it should be probably called, because otherwise you're highly incentivized to avoid a takedown by going out of bounds if you can only give up a caution and one or a one, because obviously one is less than the takedown of two. Right. So if they give 2 points, then that's ideal.
I love the changes that they continually implement, and like they're not changes; they're just like all tweaks. There's just like very subtle. Like okay, when you're on the shot clock, right? You can still score and not be like you lose the point, because really there's no reason to get a step out point if you're.
That one's debatable though.
Why is that debatable?
Because
debate me. Let's embrace it,
baby. Because you are less incentivized to take an attack if you can give up a takedown and the shot clock point.
Oh, so you're saying the guy on the clock,
yes,
is less incentive? Well,
and now it's not that bad to just give up the point. We see a lot, anyways. But now there is even less incentive if there's more risk.
No, but I see what you're saying, but I feel like the shot clock point, obviously it advise action, but at the same time, and how it usually plays out is it's to penalize the less aggressive guy. And so in that case, you're not necessarily forcing, especially like at a younger age bracket. I pretty much tell my guys to ignore the shot clock, right? Don't do something stupid because of the shot clock, because it's only a point, and the likelihood that a match at a say junior level or under is going to end 2-1 is highly unlikely. So just kind of ignore the shot clock, right? So those senior level athletes, most of them don't change strategy unless it's like a second period where it's 1-1 and it's the second shot clock point.
Right.
They rarely change strategy based on shot clock. So I think I'm totally okay with that.
I'm okay with it because I don't like the remember there's just a bunch of matches at Oslo where it felt like, okay, we need this shot clock point, but we also need other points, so we need to wait this 30 seconds and then start scoring. I love that doesn't exist anymore. And now you're just like, oh, you can keep going, keep firing, keep looking to score. I think it overall will yield more points, more offense, more attempts. And you never want anyone to be de-incentivized to score, right? Yes. Which you unquestionably are when your opponent's on the clock. Now everyone has reasons to score. So that's it's a good thing.
I still think first period shot clocks guys will shut down.
First period, maybe. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't.
for sure.
Yeah. But that doesn't. But second period, I don't know if that'll be the case. And I think you'll see, unquestionably, you will see more offense from the person who's not on the shot clock than you would have otherwise. Whereas they'd be happy to let the 30 seconds tick without an attempt. There will be more offensive attempts in that 30-second window.
If they need more points than 1 point.
Regardless.
No, guys
no.
will still shut down if they
Stop.
do not need more points.
No way. If it's first period and it's 0-0 and you're on the clock, I'm going to be thinking about scoring
I agree.
more so than if you were on the clock with the old rule set. I'm not. If it's 0-0 and you're on the clock, I am going to shut down. I'm going to get my point because if I can't score with the old rule. Now the new rules, I'm not saying that will be the case for all. More often, I will now be incentivized to score, so they will go after it more.
I agree with Christian
Right?
here.
Okay. You're trying to game the system. I'm trying to widen the gap here,
gamer.
JD.
He's a gamer.
He's a gamer. He probably wears those headsets with the microphones and plays Call of Duty with the bros, don't you? Admit it.
I haven't touched a console in years.
Wow.
He calls it a console.
I feel like
That's
JD's
fancy
a
gamer talk.
JD's a throwback. I bet he just plays like
N64.
N64. Yeah, I just play
I hope
Gold
all of you Mario Kart N64.
Mario Kart N64. That's a fun one. Okay. Oh, someone asked what were the ACC seeders smoking, which means I think the ACC seeds are out, and it's really hard to say ACC seeds, but I did it 3 times.
I was looking at
ACC seeds,
I didn't
ACC
see
seeds.
'em.
All right.
Well, I'll Google it, see if I can find it.
Well, dang it.
2022.
Who would
ACC.
those are from 2020. All right. Well,
I don't think they're
Darn
officially
it.
out yet.
where did this
Let me
person
see.
find them?
No. They got connections that you don't have, Piles. I can't find them either.
Hey, I had those Big Ten seeds early yesterday. That was nice.
Allegedly.
No? Okay.
We got to look at them a whole 2 hours early.
We got them 2 hours early.
Wow. So John Veal, John Veal's my guy. His son wrestles at my place. He says Lout. So did they put Lout 1 and Highland Lewis 2, 3?
No,
Because if that's the case, that's wild, bro.
that's amazing. If so, oh my gosh.
That would be wild. Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? All right.
Mackay beat
Oh.
Lout, correct?
Oh, theory.
What?
Is it because
Pinned over a
No,
decision or
listen.
something?
No, listen. Is it because the NC State Virginia Tech match was quote non-conference?
Oh.
That could
That
be
would be wild.
That
That
could
would be wild
literally
if
be
that was the
why.
case.
That
Yeah.
could literally be why.
But wait, isn't any match? So hold on. But I thought any match, like say if you wrestled someone within your conference at Las Vegas,
Just a
I
theory.
thought all of the conference matches are counted. So let's see. What if it was because Clay Lout wrestled an extra conference match against Pittsburgh, so he had another win?
Man, I don't know. All right.
Let's
Well,
see.
let's confirm that those are in fact the seeds first.
Before we start talking
Before
about
we
it.
start talking about a hypothetical Clay Lout
174 in the ACC is actually pretty good because you got Fine Silver in there also. I mean, that's a really solid conference.
It's sassy for sure. Okay. What you like? I called it sassy.
Yeah, that was I can't say. Anyways,
Oh wow. 934. Okay, we can get it. Here's a good question from Kelly, but the handle is Sam_Y 730. So is it Kelly? Is it Sam? Is it Sam Kelly? We don't
very
know.
confusing.
But over under 7.5.
I got them.
Oh, we've got the seeds.
We got them.
He's got the
Where'd you get-
documents.
Clay Lout number 1, Hidley number 2, Mackay number 3.
Oh my gosh. Oh, smoking all the drugs.
Wow.
Hidley should just obviously be the one. To me, I know Lout. You could play this circular game, but there's what I call the common sense clause, where you apply common sense. But congrats to Clay Lout. That's good. Any other surprises? Boland's the 3, which is crazy to see, but of course he lost to Kane in the duel. But
Which
here,
could be good for Hidley because he doesn't wrestle Lout very well. Lout. He doesn't wrestle Bolin very well. So if Bolin loses, then he won't have to deal with him again.
Okay, here's. Let's get back to this question. Over under
Okay,
seven
I
and
looked
a
at
half
this.
top seeds going chalk, and they're talking about top 1 seeds at Big Tens.
I think it ends up being 7, so I'm betting the under.
You do? Okay, who's the 3?
Well, I think
That you've
there's
sort of
multiple
pegged.
possibilities. So Schultz would be a possibility. Karcher would be a possibility. Deacon would be a possibility. And then there's other smaller possibilities within Starocki and Nick Lee being the other 2 that I see.
All right, I'm just going to say it, and hopefully you will not reference the thing that is only ever referenced. But I feel
Caleb Young.
Deacon's such a favorite.
I feel like Deacon is a huge favorite, man. I mean, I know this isn't the NCAA tournament; it's Big Tens. This guy, when's the last time he lost to someone in the Big Tens?
At the Big Ten tournament or in the Big Ten conference?
I don't know. Just period. I mean,
yeah, I guess why I was thinking that is
Probably
he had
Caleb
the
Young.
4-2 match with Peyton Robb. I just felt like he hadn't been super dominant this year, but maybe, no, you're right. He
kind of has been. And that
he
Peyton Robb match
in his last couple matches.
Yeah, and that Peyton Robb match, one of Robb's points was on illegal hold and an escape.
well, don't do things that are illegal.
Okay, so what do you guys bet? I'm still betting under. What do you guys bet?
I kind of, all that said, I kind of like the under with
65, 74, 97.
Yeah. And honestly, like 41, that's pretty, an Ironman Nick Lee match is going to be pretty nuts. Or if Rivero's like on fire, that's interesting. Sasso going down would sort of surprise me a lot.
He's like Deacon, where he's a pretty large favorite.
Pretty big favorite.
So
Gable, he looks vulnerable.
Stop. Can I answer this? I just want to talk about this question. Is bad wrestling officiating a real problem, or the mistakes justified by social media? So I think there's obviously a magnification on social media, and people love to have empathy for someone who was kind of robbed, I guess you'd say, or something that's obvious. And unfortunately, there's not a good review process at the high school level to correct those things. That being said, on top of that, you said it earlier, Christian, reffing can be a thankless job, and these guys are doing the best that they can do. Now, obviously, there's parts of us that would say we would still like them to do better, and they could, right? And because especially within some of the scrambles, I can very clearly see that a lot of the older refs especially don't have any idea what the hell's going on in there. Like it's to me, it's really clear when I'm watching. But in order for us to get better refs, we would have to incentivize them more, which would mean paying them more, which I'd be okay with. I'm not running the tournament, so I guess I don't know the economics of it works out. But also having a lot of the coaches stop being such dicks to them could probably go a really long way to keeping more around and getting more in. So yeah, I think that's something we kind of need to look internally on, like why are they maybe not doing the best job? And some of that is a reflection on us as a culture.
So wow, we're getting cultural with it. I would say
the wrestling culture.
I'm sure this stuff has happened forever, and we know that there's always been bad calls, and as part it. We see bad calls at the NCAA wrestling, so you have to imagine a rung down is high school officiating. They're not going to be as well trained. These are people with other jobs and other things, and then they do this on the weekends. And yeah, you're going to have some bad calls, and we're seeing more of them now because of social media and all this stuff's live streamed. And like the Bull Mantanona match, that was bad how that was officiated. Obviously, you can't have a tiebreaker. Did you see this, Ben?
So and my thought on that is like, I actually, if they would have said no reversal, I wouldn't have totally hated the call.
They did.
No. So I know that what was bad was that they called the 2 and then they called 2 more.
Tyler, you can pull up
the clip. It off, which I don't even know if that's I don't know what the process is in high school wrestling, but it seems to be that once you awarded that, and this is once you award that, you create a certain type of action that's happening because the wrestlers think, oh, this is, Mantanona is not looking for more points because he already has 4 points. That's all he needs. Why would he be looking for any more points,
For those just listening, tiebreaker, the final tiebreaker match, California State Finals, Mantanona versus Joffrey. Mantanona is on bottom, gets a reversal with 15 seconds left, and then they actually were 2 near fall. It's kind of like a rear
It's a
standing.
scramble the whole time. It's a scramble the whole time.
And so Mantanona gets up, thinks he's won. Referees talk it over after it's over and say there should not have been a reversal there. So should not have been near fall.
Yeah.
Mantanona loses 3-2. What we're taking issue with is that they went back 15 seconds and changed the call when obviously Mantanona could have wrestled different if he thinks he's losing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, so that,
when,
that
when
would
I
be
see something
maybe-
like this happen,
Okay, go ahead.
there needs to be an opportunity to change a bad call in this kind of a scenario, right? That we would agree that's good, and that's exactly what happened. They were waving it off. What they need in this situation is the ability to go back and at least give
time on the clock,
Mantanona
yes.
the time to wrestle from bottom with, like, it would have been probably 15 seconds left. At least give him that. You can't let the entire thing end and then you change. That's bad. That is bad. That cannot be that way. Part of that is the mechanism. That is not an option currently in high school wrestling to go back or wrestle. May not be an option in college wrestling. So I think now the idea, the refs need to, I don't know how they do that much differently other than going back in time. It would have been nice if they had just got the call, had the conviction of their call in the first place and gone with it. And
Or if you're
honestly,
gonna wave it off,
if you're a ref in that
the
situation,
protocol? I don't know.
if you're a ref in that situation, aren't you like, man, it was close enough. Are we really going to just change it right now and just literally pick the winner? I think I would have had a hard time getting talked into that.
I was very curious. I would be very curious to hear what the second ref said to the first ref to say to convince him why it wasn't a reversal. Because yes, to your point, Chris, it was close. Like if say you freeze it at that instance and you say this is a reversal, I'm like, okay. If you say this isn't a reversal, I'm like, okay. Like this is some serious gray area right here. So if you go either way, you're gonna have some people.
Either way, it's not an
significantly
atrocious
disagree.
call. What's atrocious is going back 15 seconds.
Yes.
So bad. And
Yeah.
both thought he won, and as did everyone else until they changed the call. So that's a really crappy way to lose.
And that's why this one is so bad. I'm fairly forgiving of a guy making an incorrect call in the split of a moment or something. Like, being a referee is hard, but like, I don't know. I can make up words if I want.
Split.
Okay, but so hey, let's go back to the bigger problem. Let's like number one, we pay the refs more. That's an incentive, and then on the deterrent side, if some of these coaches are such buttholes, and that's kind of when I get annoyed with some of the better college coaches who can be such buttholes to referees, and obviously those guys are people that other coaches look up to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They look up to those really high-level college coaches. And if they see them acting in a certain manner, then it becomes more okay for the high school coaches to act in a certain manner. And, when you treat certain refs certain ways, a lot of people are like, well, why would I do that? I get treated like a total ass, I mean, just something that's not desirable.
Yeah, 100%. Well, hey, great show, if I do say so myself, if I may. Pat you guys on the back at least.
You are allowed.
Kyle Snyder helped.
Don't even start with the Shane Sparks tomorrow. Please don't. I'm gonna show up late.
Don't, you turkey. I'm docked. You're docked again. You're docked again.
I'm showing up late. JD, text me when it's over tomorrow.
Amy's gonna have to start brewing Maxwell House coffee. You're not gonna get that premium roast anymore.
It might literally last the whole show. You and Sparks going back and forth on Shocking.
Shock Jocks. Hey, you Shock Jocks, thank you so much for listening. Shout out to Kyle Snyder. Can't wait for his match against Jaden Cox. 2 out of 3. That's going to be fun. Shout out to JD Raider, Ben Funky Askren, and especially you for listening. Great week in wrestling. It's one of the most wonderful times of the year, for sure. Conference weekend. Can't wait. The NCAA is right around the corner. Great time to be a wrestling fan.